Welcome along to Silverstone, everybody, for the second of 3 races this weekend for the Radical Challenge Championship on the Grand Prix circuit, where they are also joined by the Radical SR1 Cup competitors. Now, Jason Green and Neil Glover are new to the Radical Challenge Championship for 2020. We caught up with Neil after race 1 of the weekend to gauge his views on how it went.
Look, it was good. I was the second starter. Jason, my teammate, did fine. We came in, we swapped drivers, we went out, and it was okay. We carved our way up the field a bit, and it was fine. It was good fun. Driving standards are great. We're fairly new to this series, but yeah, it was good fun. Radical, we're new to this, and they've made us very, very welcome. We're going to do a few more races this year, but really, really good. The car's good, great fun, reliable, reasonably inexpensive to run. Yeah, good fun.
So the car's already being released onto the grid, ready for this sprint race, and it is the winner of the pit stop race from earlier on in the weekend, Marcus Clutton, who sits there on pole position with the runner-up from this championship in 2019, Jerome de Sadlier, sitting alongside. Well, Marcus Clutton, number 69, is as yet to finish off either the first or the second step at the podium so far this year, so let's guide you through the grid. It is Marcus Clutton that sits there on pole position with Jerome de Sadlier alongside, and the reigning SR1 Cup champion Shane Stoney has Mark Richards for company on row number 2. Chris Preen and Jason Rishover on row 3, with Jack Constable and Elliot Goodman on row number 4. It's Chris Short and Jacek Jelonka that sit there on row number 5. Spencer Bourne and Rudd Goodman on row 6. Arden Goodmanson and Martin Verity on row 7, ahead of John McLeod and Peter Tyler. John Caldwell and Mark Williams. Nick Hull and Neil Glover, who we've just heard from, sits there on the 10th row of the grid. Then for the SR1 Cup competitors, Dean Warriner is on pole in reality for that class, with Mackenzie Walker, Fraser McFadden, Ross Elliott, Andy Lowe, and then Paul Clark as the last of the runners in the Radical SR1 Cup. So the cars have completed their formation lap. They now line up on the grid. Marcus Clutton in the black and orange car on pole position. The white, red and black car of Jerome de Sadlier sitting alongside. Red lights go out. A great start from Jerome de Sadlier, but Shane Stoney from third on the grid goes nowhere, I'm afraid. Drivers having to swerve drivers left and drivers right to avoid the stricken car of the 2019 Radical SR1 champion, but Jerome de Sadlier is going to lead the pack through Copse Corner for the first time as the Radical SR1 competitors now get going, and it's the grey car of Dean Warriner that picks up the lead in the early stages of that element of the race. The cars are sweeping their way through Beckett's for the first time. Jerome de Sadlier getting the jump over Marcus Clutton, who is the man who leads the championship coming into this race. You can see already Marcus, who is also competing in the British GT Championship, is sitting firmly in the slipstream of Jerome de Sadlier, the Swiss driver who leads the pack up towards Stowe Corner for the first time. Sweep their way round through Stowe Corner. There's the number 8 car, the black car with its purple flashes of Spencer Bourne, the leading pair together though as they head through the first element of Club Corner and then start to accelerate their way up towards the faster next right-hand element of it. But with Jerome de Sadlier in the early stages of this one already having to work overtime to try and keep Marcus Clutton behind. Up towards the flat-out kink at Abbey they will come. Jerome de Sadlier leads, Marcus Clutton in second place, Mark Richards in third place, Jason Rishover's there in fourth. It looks like the black and orange car, number 11 of Jack Constable, who was third in this championship in 2019, sits there as the next of the cars in what will be 5th position as they head through the heavy brake area for Village. There is Jason Rishover under pressure from Jack Constable. The two of them fighting over 4th and 5th places, start to accelerate their way through Aintree Corner and down the Wellington Straight for the first time in this sprint race. The top 3 together though. Jerome de Sadlier fending off Marcus Clutton, who wants to attack. He's certainly got to defend at the same time from Mark Richards, and we're side by side for 4th place as Jason Rishover is desperate to try and hang on to the position. Jack Constable was almost alongside him there, but was on the outside line as they went round through Luffield Corner. The fights also continue all the way down through the field. Great stuff. Over the start-finish line, first lap completed. Jerome de Sadlier leads Marcus Clutton. There's the fight for 4th and 5th place. The blue and silver car of Jason Rishover under enormous pressure from Jack Constable, who is looking to try and draw himself alongside as they head up towards Maggots. He's side by side at Maggots and gets the inside line for Beckett's. Job done for Jack Constable, up into 4th position for him, down to 5th for Jason Rishover. First race of the weekend, Jason Rishover finished in 4th position. Well, he's just had that taken away by Jack Constable, who is desperate to try and add to his points tally because he was a non-finisher in race 1 of the weekend, so championship points lost there as far as he is concerned. Jerome de Sadlier still leading from Marcus Clutton. There is the fight for 4th position still. Jack Constable now ahead of Jason Rishover, and they are, by the look of things, just starting to close in on the 3rd place car of Mark Richards. So down the Vale in towards Club Corner. Jerome Desadlier with a bit more daylight between himself and Marcus Clutton in second place. Mark Richards still in third. Jack Constable in fourth, now pulling away from the fifth place car of Jason Rishover. But the top five have certainly broken away, haven't they, from the car that sits there in sixth position. So the leading quintet sweep their way through Abbey, up towards the flat-out left-hand kink at Farm, and then in towards the heavy braking area for Village Corner, which is an overtaking opportunity, but for Marcus Clutton in second place, he's just that little bit too far away to try anything there. Up towards the loop, Marcus takes a really wide sweep in, and by the look of things, yeah, Jerome Desadlier made a small mistake mid-corner there, which instantly was pounced on by Marcus Clutton. He goes through to take up the lead of the race. Jerome Desadlier down to second, and now coming under pressure from Mark Richards' car, who sits there in third, the black car with its blue flashes. Jack Constable has also managed to catch up as well, so now it's sort of four for the lead of the race. Jason Rishover just that shade further back in fifth position, but he is still there as well. Great fight for the lead of the Radical SR1s. Dean Warriner just ahead of this pair here. Fraser McFadden, the rookie, under pressure from the more experienced Ross Elliott. The two of them together. You've also got Mackenzie Walker not that far away as well. Up towards the braking area for Brooklands Corner. There's contact for the two cars that were second and third in the class, and I'm afraid they've then, as they've spun, made contact again with each other. Damage to the tail end of Fraser McFadden's car. Don't think there's anything other than cosmetic damage to his number 77 car. He gets going, but Ross Elliott still stranded, facing the wrong way at Brooklands Corner. So there goes Fraser McFadden. Yeah, bodywork damage for sure, but I think he rather got away without suspension damage. The leading five are now on to the hangar straight. The car that's there in sixth position, looks as though it's Rod Goodman that's there in sixth position. You can see this huge train of Radical SR3 RSXs all powering their way along the hangar straight. 1500cc, 225 horsepower for these cars, whereas for the Radical SR1s, it's still an RPE-tuned Suzuki engine, but it's 1340cc and about 182 brake horsepower. Jack Constable looking to try and apply the pressure to Mark Richards to try and see if he can sneak his way onto the podium here. Mark Richards having none of it just as yet. He finished third in the race earlier on over the course of the weekend. Race one of the weekend did Mark Richards. Jack Constable desperate to try and add more championship points, having had a non-finish in the first race of the weekend. The two of them almost overlapping there as they came in towards Village Corner. Could Jack Constable take a wider sweep in, try and cut back on the exit of it? Mark Richards has just about got that covered off, but Jack Constable also needs to be wary that he might lose a place whilst he tries to gain one there. There is number 49, Neil Glover, new to the championship for this year, just ahead of the leading Radical SR1 Cup competitor that we've got, the grey car of Dean Warriner. And second in the SR1 Cup is the car that's behind him, the black car with the red flashes, which is Mackenzie Walker. Back to the overall race leaders, third, fourth and fifth all together. Mark Richards, Jack Constable, then Jason Rishover, and the three of them pretty much inseparable. It's just allowing the leading pair to get away, with Marcus Clutton leading the race from Jerome Desadlier now. Mark Richards then at the car of Jack Constable from Jason Rishover. So for Marcus Clutton, a man who has failed to finish off either the top or the second step of the podium so far this year. He's had 2 wins, he's had 2 seconds. Could he be on for his third win? Because he's now in the lead of the race and is pulling away ever more from Jerome Desadlier. Still got this fantastic fight for third and fourth position. Mark Richards looking to try and hang on to the position. He needs a good run coming out of Chapel Curve to prevent Jack Constable from sitting in the slipstream and trying to steal the place away. Looks as though Mark Richards has just done enough here, because Jack Constable is close but isn't really closing. So very slightly uphill in towards the fast right-hander at Stowe Corner. From there they'll then descend downhill through the Vale and in towards the braking area for Club Corner. Mark Richards still in third position. Jack Constable closing on the brakes at Club Corner, and Mark Richards has a spin now. Was there a very slight bit of contact there, or did Mark Richards make a mistake? I don't know, but the upshot is that Mark Richards is facing 90 degrees to where he ought to be. He's going to have to wait for a gap in the traffic before he's able to rejoin. He's lost a raft of places and will rejoin, but will now be down towards the bottom of the top 15, with huge amounts of progress now needing to be made in the remainder of the race. And for Jack Constable, that now puts him safely up into third position. Now, if there was any contact, it was the slightest of touches, but it may well just have been a snatched break from Mark and he lost the tail end of the car. Now, this is a good fight going on. This is Elliot Goodman under pressure from John McLeod, who throws one up the inside, heading in towards the loop. So through goes John McLeod. This is for places down towards the bottom of the top 10. John McLeod, who finished 4th in the championship last year, now ahead of his championship rival from last year, who finished 5th. That being Elliot Goodman. And did he hang on to it? Yes, he did. Yeah, John McLeod hangs on to the position all the way down the Wellington Straight. And for Elliot Goodman, well, he's going to have to see whether there's an opportunity that presents itself either further around the lap or maybe later on over the course of the race. Through goes Jack Constable. There's Jason Rishover in 4th place. 5th place is Rod Goodman. Spencer Bourne's there in 6th place. 7th place is now John McLeod. Elliot Goodman's there in 8th place. Then it's Arden Goodmanson in 9th place. And Shane Stoney, who stalled on the grid, is nearly inside the top 10 now, actually. The black car with the yellow headlamp flashes, who thankfully was avoided by everybody when he stalled, but he is now applying the pressure to another black and yellow car. That's Peter Tyler that sits directly ahead of him. Former competitor in the Radical SR1 Cup some years ago, but has moved over to compete in the Radical Challenge for the last year or so. So onto the hangar straight they will go. The first black and yellow car is Peter Tyler. The next one is Shane Stoney. Shane Stoney also coming under pressure from the all-black car. That's number 75, Chris Short, I would have thought, yeah, who almost draws himself alongside. Chris was runner-up in the Radical SR1 Cup last year. And there is now the car of Mark Richards way down through the order with a raft of cars to try and work his way through and past. Here's our leading Radical SR1 Cup competitor, Dean Warrener, who claimed top honours in race 1 of the weekend here at Silverstone in the Radical SR1 Cup. He is leading the way here, and we've still got Shane Stoney, the second of the 2 black and yellow cars, trying to pick his way through and past Peter Tyler here. Is there an opportunity as they head past the wing? No, not quite. Shane Stoney weaving around though to try and distract Peter Tyler. In the flat-out right-hander at Abbey, then the flat-out left-hander at Farm Curve. Village Corner in the heavy braking area could present an opportunity. Having now moved himself up and ahead of Elliot Goodman, the number 14 car of John McLeod is starting to pull away in 7th position. Our race leader, which is the number 69 car in the hands of Marcus Clutton, comfortably in the lead now, has enough of a gap between himself and Jerome de Sadly so as not to worry. And at the tail end of the main Radical Challenge Championship field, a good fight beginning to form now between Neil Glover, who has caught the number 44 car of Nick Hull over the course of the last few laps. So there's John McLeod, there is Elliot Goodman, then we see Arden Goodmanson go through. Shane Stoney now is ahead of Peter Tyler, and Chris Short has made it through as well, so there's been a bit of a shuffle down towards the bottom of the top 10, so places still changing all of the time as the field thread their way through Beckett's corner and still looking to try and pick up places. It's car number 52, which is Mark Richards, who on that lap has managed to steal a place away and has now got himself ahead of Martin Verity's car as a result of Martin just having run wide at Copse Corner on the beginning of the lap. So down the hangar straights they all work their way. Time running out to shuffle the order too much further. Shane Stoney still trying to make progress. Mark Richards still trying to make up for the problems that befell him. Martin Verity desperate to try and take the place back that he's just lost at Copse Corner through running wide. Good fight brewing between Arden Edmondson and Shane Stoney, still trying to work his way up through the order. Should have started third, but of course stalled on the grid. Shane is new to the Radical Challenge Championship for 2020, but he is of course the reigning Radical SR1 Cup champion. Leading pair through Brooklands, Marcus Clutton still leading Jerome de Sadlier. We've got Jack Constable sitting there in 3rd position and desperate to try and pick up a few more championship points after problems earlier on over the course of the weekend here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. Peter Tyler under pressure from Mark Richards, who's also had his issues over the course of this race and would desperately like to try and get himself back inside the top 10 as a bare minimum if he can. The number 77 SR1 of Fraser McFadden stays out of harm's way at Copse Corner as Rod Goodman flies through the corner under pressure from Spencer Bourne, who's trying to hunt him down. And Mark Richards has got through and ahead of Peter Tyler on that lap, so that now puts Mark Richards inside the top 10. A bit of a consolation, but of course remember he was running 3rd in the race before he had his issues down at the bottom of the Vale and in towards Club Corner. That's exactly where our race leader is heading now, so through Club Corner comes Marcus Clutton halfway around the lap, not under pressure at all now from Jerome de Sadlier. Since taking the lead of the race, he has been able to build the advantage between himself and Jerome de Sadlier and is now under no pressure at all as he sweeps his way through Abbey and on towards Farm Curve. The fight further down through the order is still raging, and this is still Rod Goodman, who is under enormous pressure from Spencer Bourne. This will be for 5th and 6th position. Just ahead of them is Jason Rishover's car, and Jason isn't that far up the road, is he, from this little pair heading round through Abbey? But for Spencer Bourne, if he wants to make it stick, he's running out of time and potentially running out of options. A snatch break there from John Caldwell, who is feeling the pressure from Jakub Zielonka that sits behind him. Chris Short is not too far away either, so that's another little fight that's going on out on circuit. That's for something like 14th, 15th and 16th positions. As for our race leader though, the number 69 car, the Valor Racing prepared number 69 car of Marcus Clutton, heads out of Luffield Corner up towards Woodcote, where the checkered flag awaits. It's another win for Marcus Clutton. 3 wins so far this season and 2 second places out of the 5 races we've had in the championship. Jerome de Sadlier comes through and finishes in 2nd position, with Jack Constable completing the top 3 and Jason Rishover finishing in 4th position, just ahead of the squabbling pair of Rod Goodman and Spencer Bourne. As for the Radical SR1 Cup, well, it looks as though that is going the way of Dean Warriner, who has built quite an advantage in the latter stages of the race. He won the Radical SR1 Cup element of race 1 of the weekend and is under no pressure whatsoever as he heads in towards the braking area for Brooklands for the final time. All he needs to do is safely work his way through the next right-hander, which is Luffield Corner, and then accelerate through the flat-out Woodcote Corner, and it will mean 2 out of 2 in this invitational weekend for the Radical SR1 Cup cars, which join the Radical Challenge Championship grid here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. Yep, Dean Warriner claims the class win in the Radical SR1 Cup and was a long way ahead of Mackenzie Walker, who finished a distant 2nd in that category. Confirmation then of the results. It's a win for Marcus Clutton, with Jerome de Sadlier and Jack Constable completing the podium. Jason Rishover was 4th, ahead of Rod Goodman and Spencer Bourne. Shane Stoney recovered from a stall on the grid to finish in 7th place, ahead of John McLeod, Elliot Goodman and Mark Richards, who did get himself back inside the top 10 following his spin. Arden Goodmanson was in 11th, ahead of Peter Tyler, Martin Verity, John Caldwell and Mark Williams, who wraps up the top 15. Then it was Chris Short, Jakub Zielonka and Nick Hull who were the last of the SR3's home. The first of the SR1 Cup competitors home was Dean Warriner, who finished in 19th, and Mackenzie Walker was 20th. Andy Lowe and Paul Clark were the last of the finishers. Retirements for Fraser McFadden, Neil Glover, James Pinkerton and Chris Preen. Let's hear from some of the drivers.
Yeah, fantastic result. You know, we didn't have the best of starts. Jerome got a blinder of a start, and we came out of the first corner in second position. And then first 2 laps just sort of kept up with him, made a move, passed him. He got the cut on me and got back passed, and then the lap after I went for the same move. Kind of a bit of a dummy really, but and he made a mistake trying to block me. And then from there on it was pretty plain sailing. We've got strong pace this weekend. Last year we had good pace, but we had a bad qualifying, and this year we've had a good qualifying, maintained the pace and took it through race 1 and race 2 and won both, so it's been great.
Yeah, really pleased today. Yesterday was a great race, but almost didn't deserve to win. Came around the last corner, 2 guys knocked into each other, let me pass, but today was a resounding victory and kind of makes up for that, so I'm really, really happy with that.
Well, that's all for the moment from the Radical Challenge Championship here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. But keep your eye towards our social media channels, because race 3, the second of the pit stop races, will be coming up very soon indeed.